Hi there, welcome to Rangers Rabble in this evening. I'm interviewing Michael Statham. Is that correct, Michael? Is that me pronouncing your surname right, Michael Statham?
Yes, pretty good.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
right. No problem, Michael. Just tell the listeners a wee bit about yourself, Michael. Your background, obviously. You sound English to me, but you've got a background in Dutch football, so which a lot of people like myself we know a wee bit about it. Obviously, the big players, and we all watch Holland play international football and stuff. But a bit about the background, obviously, the Dutch league, etc. We're probably quite new to a lot of people, as in we don't know a lot about it.
Mm. Yeah, my name's Michael Statham, and I write for Football Oranje, which is the biggest Dutch football outlet in English. So if you're into Dutch football but can't speak Dutch, just come to our website, come to our YouTube channel. We've got lots going on. We have a podcast and all sorts, match reports. So yeah, we've got everything when it comes to Dutch football. It's called Football Oranje. Football's same in English, and then Oranje is orange, but replace the G with a J, and you can
Yeah,
find us then.
and that's good to know. So anybody out there want to follow Michael, even go on YouTube and look after. I've done it myself, and the stuff I've been watching is very good and it's very knowledgeable. So everybody else that's listening, give it a subscribe, give it a follow because it's real interesting stuff. So Michael, we brought you in here today to go over a player that's been linked with Rangers a lot. Social media wise, all the Rangers fans have been talking about it. Even in the paper, the media, they're talking about him being linked as Danilho Doekhi. Now,
Mm.
he's a centre back at Vitesse. I've been obviously since he's been like this Rangers, I've been looking up about him and watching clips about him. And he started at Excelsior, went to Ajax youths, played in under 21s quite a lot, but didn't make one appearance for the Ajax first team. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he was one of those Ajax talents that didn't quite make it, didn't quite break through, but then it's just flourished elsewhere by getting regular games in the Eredivisie. It doesn't surprise me that he's had the career path he's had. I think he just wasn't one of those elite talents that they
Yeah,
bring through. You're thinking Matthijs de Ligt is one of those that
yeah,
went through, played lots of the first team and got a massive move. Doekhis that kind of like player below that, but still a very good player. Now that he's
yeah.
coming into his prime, you can see that he's ready for a big move.
Yeah, I can see he's played over 96 times with the test, and that's
A lot of
since
games.
2018-19 season. And I can
Mm.
also see I found a stat saying his first ever sending off was against Giovanni when he managed Feyenoord. Is that correct?
That's one I can't remember.
I actually seen that,
Most
and
likely.
I seen that was the first time he was sent off against when Gio was a manager. So I don't know if that was a coincidence or it's a bit of fortune that's happened. Maybe Gio's seen something in him then. I'm not sure. But looking at reports on him, a lot of people say he's a very, very good centre back defender.
Yeah.
He's an aggressive, he's tall, he's good in the air. His strength is tackling, he's very physical. Would you say that has his strength? Like, can he read the game well? What's his attributes, Michael?
I mean, when you think of Dutch players, Dutch defenders, you think that they're really good on the ball, and he's
Yeah,
okay on the ball, but he's nothing special. And I think that's why a team like Rangers can take interest in him. That they don't need someone to be really good on the ball. In fact, he's one of the most physical defenders in the Eredivisie, which probably therefore stands out to a British team. That the
yeah,
style of play matches them. So I think that link first of all works. You can see that why he's been linked to Newcastle as well in
yeah,
the past before they came super rich, and he's ready to do I think kind of what Virgil van Dijk's done, where this is. And he is quite a pragmatic guy. He's quite intelligent, quite modest, but also knows where he is. He
yeah,
knows he's not going to be, at the World Cup in late end of this year, but he does know that he's seeking a move to be the best player that he can be, play at the highest level he can. And he's proven that he can play at the sub-top level in the Eredivisie. By that, I mean just below the Ajax and PSVs,
yeah.
but also become captain of that club, having been a not a youth product, but someone who broke through into senior football with Vitesse. And now I think that he's ready to experience the next level of European football. He's enjoyed the Conference League this year, and I think that he wants the next level up from that. I think that's what Rangers can offer him. Yeah, I think this is the right move for him. Looking at Van Dijk, can he use it as a stepping stone, and can he do well with Rangers, but then get another bigger move after that? I think that's what his aim will be. Looking at Rangers, it just fits.
Yeah, I mean, obviously mentioned Virgil van Dijk there, who was obviously played with Celtic, which is a club that Rangers fans don't really tend to sway towards. But we can see how well he's done since he's left Scotland and went to England through Southampton and Liverpool. So would you say Daniel's got that ability in him, or is he just he's as good as maybe I'm saying he's a very physical defender, but footballing wise, passing wise, ability, maybe not at that level.
Yeah, he's not the best on the ball. He's okay. I think that his main qualities are being a strong centre back, good in the air, good tackler, and he plays at the moment in a back five. Vitesse play a 3-5-2.
Yeah,
a back five, and yeah, wing backs. He's never really played in the back two because a lot of the time he's had at Vitesse has often been in this back five. He's looked good in the back five.
yeah,
That's when he started to really stand out when Thomas Lech became manager and
right.
started this tactic. And that would be interesting to see. Can he take that to then play in the back two? But he is a leader. I think that's been a quality grown into him. Naturally, he's not a really commanding person. I think that this is something that Lech has put into him. Not something he really had at Ajax. He's grown in confidence now, though. I think one thing I've seen Dutch managers do, is they sometimes will give the captaincy to a player who's not naturally a captain in order to grow them into that quality. And Doekhi, you can see that has happened.
Yeah.
That he does command the defence more now, but wasn't necessarily before. Something which may interest the listeners is that he has been good this season, but arguably he was better last season and hasn't quite been up to the high quality this season. He had an injury for around it was 7 games, because he's got a remarkable stat actually in the Vitesse team, which I put up on Twitter, that he's a 63% win percentage with Doekhi and around 43% without him. Yeah. They've conceded far more goals when he's not in the side compared to when he is. So his impact is clear, even though this season he hasn't been quite at his best, compared to last season. But he is a very good defender.
I can see he also plays the right-sided.
Right-sided centre back, but not a right back or anything like that. He hasn't got the agility for anything like that.
Yeah, I was watching him and also saying he's not the quickest, but his pace is okay, but he's not the quickest. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously Rangers at that moment play with 4 at the back or 2 centre backs as a back two. So if he comes to Rangers, I don't know if Giovanni's going to go to a back three. That's the thing we're all been speaking about. I think he might eventually, if that's because we've just signed a player from Hearts called John Souttar, and then we're looking at Doekhi, and then we've obviously got another few centre backs at the club. So I think he might go to a back 5 and back 3 centre backs, which would obviously fit in with the way the boy Doekhi plays. If you see that's his strength and that's where he performs well. I can see also he's played with Holland under 21s a few times. Do you think getting into the national teams a possibility, or do you think they're quite well set up there? Obviously, you mentioned Dillard, you've got Virgil van Dijk, so it's going to be quite difficult to shift day two to get into the national side. But beyond their 21 setup, how's he been doing with under 21s? Has he been doing okay? Has he?
Well, you mentioned the Netherlands centre back options. There's also Stefan de Vrij, who's an amazing defender in Italy. Yeah. It's that level of quality, but no one saw Van Dijk breaking through into that side, and he's now one of the best defenders in the world.
Yeah.
Not saying that I see Doekhi doing the same thing, but you could see he has to take a few steps yet if he's going to be doing something like that. Given that I watched Jovan Bronckhorst at Feyenoord, I'd be surprised if he switches to a back 5 unless you have the perfect player who can play between 2 centre backs, perfect deep lying playmaker, I guess, who can really sit deep as a defender. But I do know that Rangers were seeking a couple of centre backs, not just the one. So I think the signing doesn't really mean that it's the end for the centre backs being signed. You asked a question about the under-21s. He never really held down a place. He was never a regular really, or someone who they thought this is going to be one of the best players in our side to go on to become a senior international, but was performing well with Vitesse in order to get that spot. I think that in terms of defenders, it was a pretty dry spell for the Netherlands and the 21s. I don't think they had many young centre backs really coming through, and that's why he got that spot by virtue of being a decent player in the Eredivisie. So you can see the kind of level he's at, where when his managers described him as one of the best, he says he's the best centre back in the Eredivisie, which is high praise.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I
And I
think there's
think
a
when you hear
couple of
stuff like that, Michael, a lot of people start to get very excited. Say, well, if he's been
yes, yeah.
classed as the best centre back in Dutch football,
Mm.
he must have something about. Even though you maybe not watched him, maybe not seen him in action, you think this guy must have something about him to be the best defender
Mm.
in that league. Because as soon as you mention Dutch football to everybody, we all get images of the way Dutch football's played, the way the players play, because we all know it's very exciting to watch, especially when I'm a bit older, so I can remember back to the Dutch teams that were just pass, move, and
Mm.
that's the way Dutch football seems. And obviously, you've described Doekhis a slightly different player from your
Yeah.
traditional Dutch centre back, so it's interesting. Do you think if he came to Rangers, probably a lot of people come to Scottish football as a stepping stone, maybe to get towards the English Premiership, because
Mm.
that's where the money is. We all know that nowadays. But do you think if he came to Rangers, he would settle in quite quickly just with the way Scottish football's played?
I said he was quite a modest and humble guy. This would be the first time that he'd be playing abroad too,
Right.
despite playing with Ajax and that. And I know that Dutch players can find it hard to adapt. One thing that stands
Yeah.
out for me is that he is a physical defender, has been described as a very good defender in that league, not the best ball playing defender, that's for sure, because there are quite a few number of them that play with the top sides in the Eredivisie.
Yeah.
I think one thing you could say then is he hasn't been tested against particularly physical strikers. He looks like a physical centre back because he has to play against strikers who are leaner and fitter. I think that he's someone who will have to step up his game even more so, like with his strength and physicality, if he's going to play in Scotland.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's ready for this step, and I don't think he sees the Premier League as his end goal. I know that he's spoken about playing in the Champions League. I
Yeah.
think he'd do well at a top side in Eredivisie if it was an Ajax or a PSV that came in for him,
Right.
or a Rangers. You can see that they will end up in the
Yeah.
Champions League at some point.
Yeah.
That's why it looks like a good podium for him and
Right.
a good level for a number of years if he goes to Rangers.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I know people will be wondering how likely it's to happen. The fact we're speaking about him shows that there's substance to them with the rumours that the Rangers are genuinely interested.
Yeah.
They wanted him in the summer. Vitesse are quite a tight little club. They haven't let much slip so far. But I see this happening in the summer. I think he wants to go then as well. He said that he wants to see the season through with Vitesse. But in the summer, I expect something to happen.
Is it a contract or something? No, is it just
No,
up
I
there
think
for a
he's just
fee?
ready to go. He said
Ready to
the
go.
previous summer that he'd give another year with Vitesse.
Right.
And that's how Dutch football goes. They always speak about like that. They say, "Oh, another
Yeah.
year," and then they're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's Dutch league just like the Scottish league. As soon as you play for a club a while and you feel you've got another step to go, maybe somewhere else you perform, and hopefully, I mean, it does come to Rangers, because what I've seen and what I've heard and what you're telling me as well, it does seem an exciting proposition to come to Rangers, because it's the type of
Mm.
player I think the fans would like, because Scottish football fans like to see somebody being physical, being aggressive. I know football's changed a lot. A few years ago, you can't go in with the thunder tackles, you can't be dead aggressive as it used to be, but we still like that sort of thing, even when the game's boring or the game's quite dull. Something's in with quite a good challenge, wins the ball back, it gets the crowd off the seat, and if he can do stuff like that, the fans would be happy. You just like the players to give 100%. I can also see B stats watching him and seeing some highlights. I've not seen him on a game live, but just the highlights I've watched on YouTube and etc. And listening to yourself, other people. He's quite good in there, is that correct? But he's not scored a lot of goals, like maybe from set pieces or corners. He doesn't seem to be a goal scorer,
He
a goal
often gets
threat.
up there though. That's a surprising thing. And they've got a great set piece taker in Max Vitek, left-footed player. Um, they're just not known for their set pieces, but he's often
Right.
heading them away. So I guess that's one way
I
to look
suppose,
at
I suppose
it.
that's more important, keeping a clean sheet, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just I've seen he played 90 odd games, but he's only scored 2 goals, which for
Yeah.
you just think for somebody who's really good in the end, maybe score a few more goals up the other end, because if he's good in there. But I mean, obviously he's got a really good background coming through Excelsior and then coming through Ajax, so the pedigree's there, the background's there, and I know you mentioned that footballing wise, he may not be the best, but defensive wise, I think he would really suit Scottish football. And
Yeah.
I know you mentioned before we go on there about other players that Rangers have been linked with. What I mean, to be honest with you, since Giovanni's become manager at Rangers, every time you pick up a paper or go on his Twitter or any social media channel, we're linked with players who's played under Gio or who comes from the City Group or who play in Holland. Just players that's very, very It's because it's about
Mm.
Gio's. So, are there any players in Holland that you've seen or you've heard rumours that have been linked with Rangers at all?
One player that definitely has been linked with Rangers, and he's a realistic acquisition in terms of quality, in terms of price, in terms of him needing to leave the club he's at right now, is Albert Gudmundsson. He's a winger he's Icelandic. He's
Right.
a right winger, can play as a striker, can play as a 10. His favourite position is a 10, but has barely played there for RZ because they've got a better player in that position. Doesn't match the style. Because he's put on the right occasionally as a backup striker. I think he needs to get away from RZ to get starts, to get games.
Right.
At the moment, he's a bench player, and someone is a bit of a scapegoat for RZ because they had even better quality attacking players when they ran Ajax really close to get the Eredivisie, nearly get the Eredivisie title. He's someone who is quite nimble, quite quick. He's got a great skill on him. I think that he'd be a bit of a wild card for Rangers, and he needs to leave RZ. As I said, he's not getting that many games, and I know that there were. I probably shouldn't mention the word Celtic on this podcast very much, but we've said it already with Van Dijk. But they've also been linked with Gudmundsson.
Right.
That move, this player and this move, therefore, again makes sense. And I don't think the British media are likely to make up good transfers like this because they don't know the Eredivisie all that well. When they have done it, it's been lazy rumours. Whereas Doekhi and Gudmundsson, they're two players who I genuinely believe there's substance to the rumours. Doekhi, there's been a lot more about, but Gudmundsson was also mentioned. There must be sniffing for him because I think he needs to move, and I think that it makes sense.
So do you think he could set up come to Scotland and be like a shining light for Rangers if he joined the boy Gudmundsson, just the way he plays and the way he attacks, because he's that type of player. Would the fans enjoy watching him, and would they be an asset to Rangers? I know you say he's sitting on the bench at the moment, but he's the type of player that would come and go straight into the setup, or is he very attacking? Would he score goals? Would he create goals? That type of player he is.
I don't want to be harsh and say he's inconsistent because I think he's not actually had that good run of games with RZ at the moment to say, that he's. So I think he needs this kind of move where he know that he get games. And I don't know if you've got a position available for a player like him as a 10, maybe as a right winger, but he can play either. I know that he first plays a 10 because he's just this kind of player who can maneuver really well behind the striker, get into the box to score goals. But he's not an out-and-out winger. He's left-footed. I think he'd be a good player who would excite. I think if he was given the confidence in that run of games, you'd see a good player. Not a great player, but a good player.
And is that the only one apart from Doekhi it's been linked big Rangers you've heard of, and
that's the only one I've heard of that's been linked,
obviously with Gio's manager, the will be other players that will come up.
I'm sure he'll be looking.
As you probably know, because even players that played under him, they're not going to be that old because he was only when he was in Dutch football 2019, so they're not going to be that old. Do you know what I mean? So
I just don't see that him going for some sort of youth players. I don't see him getting a player who's a talent because they won't get the games with Rangers. I think that he'd want to go experienced players in the Eredivisie, if anyone, players that are ready for a step up, like Doekhi or Gudmundsson, players that need to move on.
Obviously, I don't know a lot about Dutch football wise behind it, but is it like a well paid league? Are the footballers in Holland paid quite well, or is it?
No.
So is that maybe one of the
not.
reasons players like to go maybe into Britain or come into Scotland or England? It's just because obviously football wise they want to up the level of game, but obviously finance wise, family wise, just get a bit more financial stability as a football player.
Yeah, they often look to play in the Premier League or in Italy, players that play in the Eredivisie because of historical players that have gone to either league, or Barcelona, and they've got a history of actually going to places such as the Championship, mid-table players, because they can make like double, triple their wage in the Championship.
Yeah,
and I've seen players do the same from the Scottish Premier League as well. They've gone to the Championship before then going to Premier League. John McGinn's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
I'm a Villa fan, so it's
John McGinn's one that just stands out, doesn't he? He went there with nobody really knowing who he was, and now Villa would get a fortune for him. But it's just it's just the way Dutch football is. You see Ajax doing well in Europe, and everybody thinks
Yeah,
this league's outstanding, and the players are really good. And then you see the players going to other clubs, and obviously there's a lot of good players coming from Ajax and other Dutch teams. So when you get linked to a Dutch player, you do get excited, but just because the way Dutch football's kind of framed all over the world. Do you know what I mean? Everybody likes to watch Dutch football the way you watch. I
yeah.
mean,
It's
Ajax is
exciting. It's
probably the
fast, and
main example, especially bringing through all
yeah,
the youth and talent because a lot of youth players don't get a chance at Ajax, but there's so
yeah,
many come through and they probably feed them to other clubs like the boy
exactly.
Doekhi. So, what chance would you give the boy Doekhi coming to Rangers? Would you say it's a very good chance? Would you say because obviously the way the manager spoke about him being the best centre back in the league, the way you've spoke
Mm,
about him, where people have spoken about him. Obviously, Rangers have been linked with him quite heavily. You've had Newcastle been linked with him. You said in the past.
mm.
There's been other clubs. I don't know the names, but say there've been a few other English clubs mentioned. Maybe other clubs, Belgium leagues, or maybe Italy. So, what chance would you say he has coming to Rangers? Because if there's a few clubs come in, it's going to. I'm not saying it's going to be a bidding war, but he's going to have a lot to think about. So, and you said he's quite modest. So, with the Champions League entice him before maybe going to,
I think it does.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that move entices him because the physicality of it suits him. I don't think he'd want to go to the Premier League and sit on the bench. I don't think he wants to go to a championship because then he gets no European games. I think he wants to keep progressing, not really sidestepping or anything like
yeah,
that. That's why I think this move makes sense. Clearly, Rangers have got a chunk of money because they nearly spent it on Joey Veerman, who ended up going to PSV.
yeah,
They have ambitions to take obviously a player. They're obviously scouting the Netherlands too.
yeah,
There's a few players now being linked, and they all are realistic links. There's genuine interest in Doekhi. I think you signing the defender from Hearts lowers the chances of it. But as I can see that you need another defender, and he is someone who would start games with Rangers. I think that's the level he's at. It all makes sense. Everything makes sense in this move, but
yeah.
it would be in the summer. It wouldn't be now. The interest is obviously there now, and Doekhi has said, "Hang on, I'm really focused on the test right now." I said I'd stay till the summer. Let's see what it is then. And if Rangers are still interested, I'm sure that they'd pay the money for him.
Well, we'll just have to keep a close eye on what. Hopefully, I'm hoping he does come because what I've heard, what I've seen, it looks an exciting prospect, and it's the type of player I like to see at Rangers. Just somebody who can defend. If somebody I know can defend at a back, then I'm all for that because we've got other players that can go up the park and create and score. So I'm just looking for somebody at the back who knows how to defend properly. Because at the end of the day, if you can keep a clean sheet, Michael, you've got more a chance of
You're
winning the
right.
match, haven't you? So just like to say, Michael, thank you very much for coming on this evening. We appreciate that. Uh, and basically, thank you everybody for listening. So, thanks, Michael, once again. Thank you.